Welcome to Guatemala. Join me on an adventure to hike Volcano Papaya in Antigua Guatemala, where we got to roast marshmallows on this active volcano. Did you know that the quetzal or el quetzal on the Guatemalan flag does not represent the quetzals in Guatemala because they don't even live there? You definitely won't see any quetzals when you visit Guatemala. So this was my first time here. This was our first time here. I've always felt called to Central America. It's the part of the world that I have felt most called to explore first. In this video, I will be taking you along my journey to hike up the volcano. I have a much longer Guatemala vlog coming out this week. It will most likely be like an hour long because I did take a pretty long trip. So subscribe and stay tuned to all my travel vlogs. So the very first thing that we did, and you will see this in the longer Guatemala vlog that I filmed, is that we left Guatemala City. It's dangerous and there's nothing to do there. So the next day we headed to Antigua. This is a very touristy area. And we stayed at this hostel just for the adventure of it. We got lucky because we ended up having our own room and it was so cheap. It was pretty nice too. We arrived to Antigua pretty early with no plan. We decided to explore and get some food, of course. You know I love tiramisu. It's my favorite. I absolutely love coffee. You know I had to try coffee from Guatemala because it's sourced from right here on the land. This tiramisu was alright, to be honest. You could really taste the alcohol. But the coffee was exceptional. It tasted so good. So this whole trip was not planned at all. We were just going along with whatever we felt like doing. So coffee is a must. It was sunnier during this day, but then it started to get cloudy and cold and rainy. So that kind of put a limit on what we could do that day. We just decided to walk all around Antigua and explore it. One thing about Guatemala is they have such good food and they have the best tortillas ever, like better than Mexico, because you'll see the woman making these tortillas on the street. And Guatemala is land of the corn. There's literally corn everywhere. There's so much land out here. So there's this little park with a church. There's a lot of churches everywhere, but this park, a lot of people come out here and hustle. They're out here vending, selling, making food. You can find a lot of good food for a really good price, especially some elote, like I said. See, this lady's got some elote grilling right there.
Hello, ma'am. Buen precio.
So in Guatemala, they only take quetzals, un quetzal. This is the currency of their country. It's these very beautiful, colorful bills. Definitely have to make sure to have some because most people will only take them. So here you'll see a bunch of people, again, hustling, making some money.
Ahora yo veo German lessons. ¿Cómo? German lessons. ¿Te ves clases de alemán?
¿Yo? Alemán.
Yo te doy clases de alemán, yo hablo alemán.
¿Sí? ¿Hablas alemán?
Gracias a eso hablo alemán, holandés, francés, danés, noruego, español, sueco y francés.
¿De dónde aprendió todo eso?
Gracias a eso he aprendido aquí solo aquí en la Antigua con libros de diccionario.
Oh, wow.
Gracias a eso hablo 8 idiomas, inglés, alemán, francés, español, holandés, danés, noruego y sueco.
¿Qué se habla aquí en Guatemala?
O sea, aquí se hablan 24 idiomas mayas.
¿24?
Idiomas mayas.
Oh, ¿y usted habla?
Yo también hablo, pero es un poquito lo que hablo de idiomas mayas. Bienvenidos a Antigua, bienvenidos a Guatemala. Y ahí estoy para servirles. Entonces, te de otra información. Tengo de escuela de salsa, para aprender a bailar salsa.
Oh, ¿de veras?
Salsa, clases de salsa gratis y de bachata.
Ah, ¿sí?
Sí.
Nos gustaría un día.
Me gustaría aprender aquí, pueden aprender gratis.
You'll find a lot of interesting food and sweets out here in Guatemala. Do you see these? They look so unique. Maderillas, all of that. Mi abuela. So this place was so bomb. I had to mute the video because I don't want to get copyrighted, and a lot of these places have music playing. Look at the tortillas I was talking about. Ooh, I know it's a big statement when I say that they're better than Mexico, but once you go there, you'll know what I'm talking about. So this place just made a bunch of caldos, these beautiful, delicious, warm soups. Perfect for their weather. So here we are walking around again. As you can see the volcano up there. ¿Las hace usted?
Yo vengo en un pueblo indígena.
Ajá.
Estoy a 4 horas de Antigua.
Oh, de verdad.
Es mucho lejos. Allí hacemos todo eso. ¿De dónde nos visitan?
California.
Oh, y él también.
Sí.
Aquí a pueblo. Solo mira. ¿Sabes quién es?
No.
El ave nacional de Guatemala. El quetzal.
Quetzal.
El tecumumán.
¿Esta la vende?
Sí.
¿A cuánto?
Aquí tengo, mire. Diga.
Oh.
Yes.
So the guy that we had just met on the street selling the flutes recommended that we go here. This random tuk-tuk asked if we wanted to go up there, so we said yeah. The tuk-tuk guy ended up scamming us later on, but that's all right. The place is so beautiful. You get a view of whole Antigua and the volcano that we're about to go hike. And actually, the flute guy ended up selling us on this other location, Lake Atitlan, located in the highlands of Guatemala. From Antigua all the way to Atitlan, it takes about 5 to 6 hours on bus or shuttle. I don't know why we thought this was a good idea. The ride there was horrendous, and we got there so late that we didn't get to see the lake during the daytime. The streets are flooded with water. It's freezing cold. Everything is pretty much closed. People are really living in a different world over here. It's their little world. It's like a church town. You'll see all these women walking to church, going to church, making tortillas on the street. And we're starving, but thank God this is the only place that was open. And they also happened to point us to an ATM. Because remember, they only take quetzals. I'm so grateful. But that whole drive was an experience. Now we end up at this hostel, and no one is there but us. The streets are flooded, there's storms everywhere, you can hear it. They don't even have showers to bathe here. We are soaking wet, so I'm trying to dry my clothes. And the thing is that we're trying to leave first thing in the morning, and we have no idea how. So we got up at like 4 a.m. and we tried to find one of these buses. It's called the chicken bus. We managed to find one that was heading to Antigua at like 5 a.m. And we only had like 5 minutes to run back to the hostel and run and get our ass on this chicken bus. Somehow we managed to get some change for this ride through this magical ATM machine that we found. And if you don't know what a chicken bus is, oh, it is an adventure. We almost didn't realize that we had to get off the bus and switch onto another one that was going to Antigua. I look like a immigrant with my hat.
Do you know how much?
Gracias. Also, thank God for the people that come on the chicken bus to sell some goodies. They're hustling for real. There was a lady who sold us this cup with cornflakes in it with warm water. I thought it was corn and mayo because that's what us Mexicans eat. But no, it was cornflakes with warm water or warm milk. It was just weird. Interesting, I should say. They do have seeded watermelon here and some of the best fruit. The chicken bus is basically an old school bus, like the yellow ones you see in the US. It's extremely cheap to ride, and each seat can fill up to like 4 or 5 people. I swear I've seen it happen when I was in Nicaragua. They cram everyone onto this bus, and as it's moving along, it's still picking up people, dropping off people. It's just insane how busy and packed it gets. But this is what works for them. This is their little system. We ended up making it back to Antigua just in time. We wanted to make sure that we actually had time to hike a volcano. We wanted to make the best of our time here. So here we are eating again, making sure we get a full meal before our hike. Mind you, we are not prepared to hike a volcano, like at all. Can no longer physically prepare, so we are mentally preparing ourselves for what we're about to get ourselves into. It was a miracle that we made it on time to go on a hike with a guide, because minutes before we had to meet up with our tour guide, we lost our debit card. Long story short, on this trip, I decided I would only bring a credit card because I wanted to use my cashback points. I ran out of cash, my boo ran out of cash, and he lost his debit card, so we couldn't pull out money from an ATM. It was insane. We had this tour guide running around Antigua, like asking every little business if they would help us, because he's out here hustling, you know what I mean? He's gonna make a cut out of that. And miraculously, I don't know how this worked out, there was one place that took my credit card. And we only had a few minutes to find a driver who would take us up there. And luckily we found this really nice man who's driving us over there. At the moment, the weather looks really nice, like blue skies, but it ended up getting pretty bad. So as you can see here, we're driving there and I'm showing you a little bit of Guatemala. In my opinion, I think that Guatemala is a developing country. They don't have access to a lot, definitely nothing compared to the US. They rely heavily on agriculture. Like I mentioned, there's so much land, but there's literally corn everywhere. You may see videos of Guatemala in other vlog videos and such. It may look really nice, but remember when it comes to other countries that there's always a quote-unquote ugly side to it. Like this would be a complete culture shock to an American. Complete culture shock. You definitely need to know how to speak Spanish if you were to ever live here or even visit here. Doesn't seem like people really care about tourists, to be honest. That's kind of the vibe that I got. But yeah, here's this little town. I don't remember exactly what it's called, but we're approaching the volcano, Volcano Papaya. And our driver's kind of lost, to be honest. He was a little lost, but he managed to get us there. Driving through here, honestly, it reminds me of Chiapas, Mexico. If you've ever been to Chiapas, oh my gosh, it's such a special place. But it is so hard to drive through. Like, there's potholes everywhere. The streets are so narrow. Anyway, we're almost there. So we decided to hike this volcano as opposed to the other one. I mean, there's many in Guatemala. But these are a couple accessible to tourists and that are currently hikeable. So my partner and I had no idea how out of shape we were until we started hiking. And we're like 5 minutes up the little hill when the tour guide asks us if we want to get on some horses and take the horses up the volcano.
Erupción en 2010. Todo esto, everybody, the plantation, the tree, destroyed. Destruido totalmente.
Wow. What year?
2010.
Oh, that's recent.
2010.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah. And the house and the roof and the village were destroyed, were collapsed.
No.
Or rocks here at the bomb.
Sí.
Wow. Plantation coffee, no fruit, no avocado, no plantation for 2 years.
Wow.
Today it's ash volcanic
We only had some cash left and we still had a lost debit card. The man ended up taking the few bills that I had left. It was probably around 50 or 60 USD. So we ended up taking the horses of the volcano.
Aquí por este lado. Entonces lo voy a
Okay.
poner esto aquí. ¿Cuál es tu nombre?
Yo soy Tania. Tania.
Tania.
¿Y usted?
Ángel.
Ángel.
Mucho gusto.
Mucho gusto. So one of the greatest travel stories that I have in my life experience was the time that I went to Nicaragua by myself and I hiked this active volcano. It took 8 hours to get up there and 8 hours to get down, hiking with my 2 little feet. I was younger back then, so I had the energy, but it was the most difficult thing I've ever done in my entire life. I challenged myself beyond belief. I still can't believe I did that. I wish I was vlogging back then. But I hiked the actual volcano, like the volcano. My feet were on the volcano, hiking up and down it with this local old man who was like 90 years old.
Escuchas el sonido.
He probably hiked the volcano a million times throughout his lifetime, he said. So anyways, I share that because as I'm going up this volcano and I make it to the destination, I realized that it didn't really feel like we were hiking the volcano.
The plantation is orchid.
Yeah.
It's a bromelias.
It's beautiful.
2010 fue the explosion. A year ago, there are more orchid in the area.
Yeah.
Different flower. There are white, red, and the yellow, and the blue.
Yeah.
They are beautiful. Yeah. Now it's different.
It's going to go back.
I guess this is considered part of the volcano because once we get to the finish line, like we could see the volcano. So it's not like we were on the volcano. You get what I'm saying? Nicaragua, I highly recommend that place as well. This was still an amazing experience though, even with the horses. For one, I absolutely love riding horses. But also, you'll see at the end.
Pacaya.
Oh, no.
Todavía continuamos.
No se ve Pacaya ahorita.
Esperemos que sí. Aquí está uno.
Sí.
Positive. It's good.
Yeah.
That we wouldn't have made it without the horses. The weather got so bad, a big storm came in, that we wouldn't have been able to see the volcano at all. It's fun, huh? Do you like your horse? I love mine. Huh? Yeah, he likes it. The horses allowed us to make it up there just in time before the storm to see the volcano.
Places the mobile is a activity, eruption, tsunami, Pacific Ocean, earthquake.
Yeah. Also makes it erupt.
Yeah. The lava blocks is the 2 years.
Yeah.
The black. He said the great, he said the part is hot. You come in.
Eventually, we had to park our horses and leave them up the hill. So we still had to hike a little bit.
Yeah, it's fucking.
And I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty tough. It was a small distance, but it was hard. It was funny because I really convinced my partner that we were about to hike for like 8 hours up and down and that it was gonna be so tough, but we couldn't even make it. Whatever though, that's what made our journey the way it was. So look at that view. It's so beautiful. I forgot to mention, but the reason that we ended up choosing this volcano, Pacaya, instead of this other one, we actually ended up booking it and trying to get a refund. The other one was a volcano where we were going to sleep overnight, like at the base of the volcano, but we were limited on time, so we decided to do this one. Also, because we heard that there's a man who goes up there and he bakes pizzas. He bakes the pizza with the lava, the heat of the lava. But for some reason, he wasn't up here when we came. Our tour guide roasted some marshmallows for us though. That was amazing. You have a cool job.
¿Te gusta tu trabajo?
Más o menos. The water.
Oh, it's like when you steam your face, right? It smells like it.
Yeah. The tour guide mentioned how he didn't enjoy his job very much because it was very dangerous because of the storms that tend to come in. The storms are so heavy it could literally take you, and then you'll just be there lost at the base of a volcano.
¿Tú traes algo para esto o puedes ponerlo acá por la lluvia?
Oh, no, you don't want it to get wet. Your phone.
Yeah, yo tengo esta. Está bien.
Está bien.
Sí, se puede. Oh, this one's waterproof. He's definitely a professional at this because he could already tell by the clouds that the storm was coming. So I don't know if you could tell, but he's kind of rushing. He was kind of rushing the experience a little, but I understand why, because he wanted it to be safe for us. So as you can see, all of that steam is from the volcano. Ah, sí. The volcano last erupted in 2010. It pretty much destroyed the little villages down below. There's a lot of like small villages down there in that town. So it took them years, I mean they still are rebuilding and finding ways to make money. The driver shared some interesting stories about the Mayan villages and some of the Mayan people who live down there.
Solo con... Lo siento.
Angelitos, gracias.
Si quieres, vamos a la casita.
Okay.
Por la lluvia.
Woohoo! The driver is also who I learned about the Nahual, the Mayan Nahual. Yeah. This is the most interesting thing I've ever learned. It's a form of Mayan astrology that gives you your spirit animal and some of the career paths that you're destined to take or that would suit you best in this lifetime. So far, I've never read something more accurate for the people that I have done it for, or looked it up, should I say.
Mira la lluvia, ¿cómo viene?
Oh, wow. So here we're trying to get some shelter because as you will hear, the storm comes in strong.
La lluvia viene aquí. El volcán es el concedido.
horses always just stay here?
It's for the families, the village. Ahora it's more, if you the rain, this is more hot.
Yeah.
Is the here is the from volcano.
Yeah.
It's in the Caribbean.
Yeah.
It's a named Cerro Chino. The lava 2014.
Oh wow. The video doesn't do justice for how intense that storm was. And we have to head back now. But you know we had to get a little picture in, you know, once in a lifetime.
Que la fisura, el colapso, la lava salió de acá.
Oscuro que se veo.
Lo oscuro 2000.
So we waited up here in hopes that the storm would stop. We waited for like an hour. Then we decided to head down because the storm wasn't going anywhere. It was a pretty hard trip back down the volcano. And at the end of it, we were entirely soaked. I realized I didn't prepare for this trip at all. But it was still fun, even if we had to go back down in the pouring rain. When we got back to Antigua, we treated ourselves to some dessert and some food, of course. That was our adventure to Volcano Papaya in Antigua, Guatemala. I highly recommend that you do it if you go there or hike any of the other volcanoes. It's definitely a must, and visiting Antigua is a must. It's incredibly fun. The food is delicious. Just don't forget to pack correctly. Bring some cash and exchange some currency. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please make sure to subscribe and turn on post notifications so that you don't miss any of my other fun travel vlogs and other videos, of course. Peace.